Welcome, folks, to the next episode of Starfleet Simplified. I'm Michael Schockman, I'll be your host and commentator, and in today's episode we will be covering the flagship of certain captains such as Christopher Pike and James Tiberius Kirk in the mid-23rd century. Today we will be covering the Constitution-class heavy cruiser. The Constitution class was a Federation starship class, that being a Class 1 heavy cruiser that was utilized as the primary frontline Starfleet vessel during the mid-23rd century. They were designed for long-duration exploration and patrol missions with minimal outside support and were best known for their celebrated missions of galactic exploration and diplomacy, and were capable of operating on 5-year mission cycles with an operating endurance of 18 years. As for the specifications on the Constitution class, ladies and gentlemen, they were. It is an exploratory heavy cruiser, specifically or it's what's known as a heavy cruiser in the 23rd century. It's not necessarily a exploratory cruiser, even though that's kind of the role that it fills. It was created by the United Federation of Planets, as well in the mirror universe as the Terran Empire. It was active from the 2240s to the mid 2250s. It has a length of 288.6 meters, a width of 127 meters, and a height of 70 roughly 73 meters. Its mass is nearly 1 million metric tons. So it's basically like 2 billion pounds. It's tiny compared to the Galaxy class. Oh my god. It has 22 decks and can host up to a crew complement of up to 203 personnel and officers. It does not. There's no information as far as I can find on the evacuation thing. I don't think that that's necessarily something that they were figuring. It can operate at speeds up to warp 7 for up to 12 hours at a time. As in terms of its armament, it is armed with 6 phaser emitters, just single phaser emitters, all across the various ports of the ship, 2 forward torpedo launchers, and 1 aft torpedo launcher. And it also has a small complement of antimatter charges. Its defenses are deflector screens and shields. Yeah. As for my personal feelings on the Constitution class, ladies and gentlemen, eh, it's not what I grew up on. I know a lot of people who, even in my age group, who grew up with the TOS, the original series, and who love the Constitution class. Personally, I don't think it's really that great. The only real action-packed thing that I enjoyed as a kid from the TOS era was the Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, in which it was summarily destroyed by a much smaller ship, that being the Miranda class, um, and but eventually won in that fight. Um, and it just it's not my kind of ship, but I can see how a lot of people would like it. But it is definitely, looking at this spec, and the specs on this thing, I can definitely see why they upgraded, eventually to the, not only the refits of the the Constitution class, but also eventually completely phased it out in favor of the Excelsior class. Like, this thing is old. It would not stand up at all in a fight in the 24th, or even especially not in the 25th century. So yeah, take that as you will. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed. I know this has been a shorter episode. The sad fact of the matter is that there's really not a lot of information on the Constitution class. Uh, it it is kind of I'm having to go with memory alpha, and unfortunately, they only have one of the phases. Apparently, there are three phases in which this thing was done. 2245 to 2254 was that of the TOS series. And then they've also supposedly, quote unquote, have two other configurations, which was from 2254 to 2265, and then from 2265 onward. But unfortunately, the information that's on those is not necessarily very reliable, and not very well filtered out. So I decided not to feature those in this episode. So I hope you'll forgive me. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for the outro where you can find out how to best support my work. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for next week when we finish off this season, this first inaugural season of Starfleet Simplified, with the granddaddy of them all, the NX-01 Enterprise, back in the 22nd century. From then, uh, and yeah, I'm Michael Schockman, folks. I've been your host and commentator, and until next time. Bye bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure, folks. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to ring the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Lastly, if you liked my work and you want to help support my channels, you can now do so on Patreon, where for as little as $4 a month, you get access to a load of cool content and much more. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Schockman, and until next time, remember, keep it real, keep it safe, keep it healthy, and we will see you guys again soon in the next one. Peace off, everybody.